to start with, I would say that what makes a person come into Raj Yoga in Brahma Kumaris is acceptance of this idea of the knowledge of drama. The knowledge, the whole knowledge we say is knowledge of the soul. That's pretty easy for people to go along with. It's very commonly acceptable. Knowledge of God, the Supreme Soul, knowledge of the idea of going back to the home, the world of nirvana. But knowledge of the drama is really a barrier, and all of us who are on this session of explorations of Gyan and Yoga have recognized it, I think. But to recognize it and to say, yes, this is it, is the initial level. And what that tells us is that a soul who says yes to this idea is a soul who has the experience within itself of passing through many, many births and many ages. And so when you hear this idea that there's a 5,000-year cycle, for no very good reason, you say yes, and we call that recognition. There's also the aspect of recognition for God, that God is the one who is telling us this, and we say yes. So there's recognition of the Creator and recognition of the creation, but to really know it is another story altogether. And so we are attempting to open up this, which you might want to call a Pandora's box, because it goes totally against the way in which the world, philosophy, religion, the humanities have conceived of reality. And this is our context. So we're looking at the knowledge of drama in the context of, I would say, for most of us on this session, the context of Western civilization. Of course, this knowledge comes from India, and there are quite a few of us who are on this session also from India. But the majority are from the Western world. We have people from the Christian, Judaic, Islamic, Buddhist, and Hindu. So we have the whole spectrum of religious backgrounds. But the cultural background we're looking at is, from a political point of view, people believe in democracy, people believe in free choice, freedom of thought, and people believe that what happens is pretty much random, though it is affected by psychological circumstances and conditioning, and so on. So all of these things are there, and here we are looking at a concept of the creation given by Shiv Baba, the creator. And as you know, what is said very often in the Murli is that in India, people are quite aware that they do not know the creator or the creation. In the Judeo-Christian world, there are what we call creationists who think that the world was created in 7 days by the word of God, and then there was heaven, which didn't really last very long, and then there was the fall, and here we are in a fallen state. And there are different religions who deal with this. And here we are looking at this circumstance of the confluence age, in which the Supreme Soul himself, the one who knows all things, comes onto this earth and starts speaking through the mouth of Brahma Baba and starts to give us all these details. So, he has been talking to us for more than 80 years, and the Avyakta Murlis and the Sakar Murlis that we have, so the Avyakta Murlis, we have most of them, which came from 1969 until, say, 2017, 2018, more information was given. And the Sakar Murlis that we listen to are of the last 5 years of Brahma Baba's life. And of course you're aware, or maybe you're aware, that the one we listened to from April 14th was one that came to Rajubai in the Murli department in Madhuban from the 1940s. And people noticed that it was a very powerful Murli, and this was one that was given through the young sister, 14-year-old sister Pushpa, who Shiv Baba used to speak to Brahma Baba, because having God inside your body, it's very difficult to know who is who, which one is me and which one is him. So Shiv Baba came into the body of Pushpa to speak to Brahma Baba so that there was a clear differentiation. And that lasted for about a year. So, all the things that happen are said to happen in 5,000 years. So, let's just look at this one question of 5,000 years, a 5,000 year cycle. Now, there is a branch of philosophy which says if a tree falls down in a jungle and no one sees it, did it really happen? And this is a very important question, because it helps us to understand what this 5,000 year cycle is about. And it is to say that the recording of whatever happens is what happens to humanity as recorded by humans. So we have, my latest way of looking at it is, every soul resembles a memory card, and that memory card is of different capacity for different souls, but the maximum capacity is sensory input for 5,000 years, because sometimes in the Murli, Baba says, you do not have the capacity to remember something that lasts longer than 5,000 years. And once we have all of this technology that has emerged in the last few decades, we're able to understand what he says by reference to this kind of technology. So if your soul only has 5,000 year memory capacity, then that's all you can hold. And so Shiv Baba says that that's the maximum capacity of a human soul. And whatever you hold inside your memory card, maximum 5,000 years, minimum, who knows, one day, one lifetime, something very, very short. So some people have really small memory cards. And your arrival on the earth is determined by how much time you have available in your memory card. So if you're a 2,000 year memory card, then you cannot come before that time, otherwise you would fizzle out before the end. And there is a law that says no one can fizzle out before the end. Everyone's memory card has to carry on until the very end, And now he says that he has come because the end of time is close. And that is also the time when all the souls are here on the earth. And in the Murli today, you must have read it, he talks about the tangling of karma. So when we're looking at the deep secrets of drama, we also have to see the deep secrets of karma. So there is this predestined drama where every single soul has a script and a role, and everything that you do, everything that you experience, everything that you think and feel and observe, and all your imagination and everything is there in the soul, and it plays out as time goes by. So sometimes Baba had given the analogy of a record. We don't have records anymore, I don't think, but there was the needle that would be on the record, and whatever was playing when the needle hit that record, that's the song you got. And of course BK's had all these 78 RPM records for the songs, and now we have everything digital. But he gave this analogy that time is like a needle, and whatever is going on is according to that moment of time. So there is before the present moment and there is after the present moment. But the only time in which an individual can actually exercise their will is the present time. And so the practice in Raj Yoga is very much to keep yourself to the present moment. And I remember one time Daddy Janki had told me, practice like this, practice every second to let go of what's happening second by second, and keep yourself in the present second, and move to the next second, and keep yourself like that, absolutely in the present, so that your experience of what happened in the previous second doesn't bleed into your experience of the present second, and also that you are present for the present second and not concerned about what is going to happen next. Because whatever will happen, it will come and you will experience it. So the key practice of the knowledge of drama is to keep oneself in the present moment. So that's one of the practices. And there are many practices, because the knowledge of drama tells us that this phenomenon of drama is highly sophisticated machine where there are many things happening at multiple levels, and as long as there is a soul on the earth in a body experiencing anything, all of that is added in the drama. So the drama of the totality has a minimum number of players of just around 1,900,000, it is said, so 1 million at the beginning of the Golden Age. And those souls start playing, and as time goes by, more souls are added until we get to this present time where we have somewhere around 8 billion and some. So you can understand that all the things that are going on are unimaginably complicated. And then you have to add to this the philosophy of karma. And so in today's Murli, Baba said it is a big tangle. and he is the only being who can untangle this tangle. And I found this point very interesting because it reminded me of an experience I had when I was about 6 years old, a very powerful dream that I can still remember to this day. And my dream was that I saw life as a vast tapestry, and each and every person was at the head of a thread, like a sort of worm with an extraordinarily long tail. And that our interaction with each other was weaving a tapestry, and that was life. And knowing Gyan, it seemed to me quite an interesting analogy. And sometimes poets have talked about the tapestry of life. And as we get born in our life, we start to have relationships initially with our immediate family, and then it grows and becomes more and more complex. And we are encountering people who we have karmic accounts with, and so all of these threads of karma and destiny and drama get very, very tangled. And therefore, we find ourselves asking, why? Why is this happening? And these are mostly metaphysical questions because nobody knows the reason why, and people generally say, God knows, because there's this assumption in the cultural and religious background that God knows everything. People believe God knows everything. And what sort of everything? Well, they don't know, but they say everything. So if nobody knows, then God knows, and that's the answer to the question. Now that he has come and explained it to us, we have to sit there with him and start unraveling and untangling all this complication. And the reason he tells us this knowledge is that it's an instrument. So let me talk about drama as an instrument. In Hindi, the word for an instrument is yantra. And we know the word mantra, which is a piece of advice, and then there is yantra, which is an instrument. So God will give us mantras so that we can handle the yantra of drama. So the first mantra we get is Om Shanti. And we use this expression Om Shanti, which means become a point. And when you become a point in the middle of a big tangle, you're focused. When you don't become a point, you are pulled and pushed by all of the elements of the tangle. So there are 3 dots that we hear about, 3 mantras to handle this yantra. And the second mantra is Manmana Bhav, which means focus your mind on God. It also means perceive the mind of God with your mind, which is the translation that I like for this. And then there is a third mantra, which is forget your body, forget your bodily relations, forget your bodily religion, which includes culture, education, all the things, all the input that we get from the world. Forget all that and remember one alone. So remembering one alone means you remember God and you remember what he knows, which is the knowledge of the drama. So the practice that he's teaching us is to work with these 3 points: the point of the self, the point of God, and the point of drama. This is a very difficult practice because the mind gets pulled away and we remember other things. So our practice of meditation is to become a point and to remember the point and to be detached and neutral about everything past, present, and future. Now, why do we have this practice? Well, the context of this practice is the context of the end of time. And people sing songs about the end of time, I will love you till the end of time, things like that. But he says, time is a clock, it's an instrument. So the knowledge of drama is an instrument, time itself is an instrument. Or you can see on the picture of the cycle that we have, on the old one, not on the recent ones, but on the old one, the original one, you will see 2 hands of a clock in red, and they're showing, a couple of minutes to midnight, rather similar to the nuclear bomb clock that we also have, which says that we are X amount of time away from nuclear catastrophe. And nuclear catastrophe is there in the world of politics and military activity, and it's also there in the knowledge of drama, because it is said that the drama ends when there is a Big Bang. And of course, in the theory of science, there's also this idea of a Big Bang. But I don't think they think of it as a nuclear holocaust. However, lately, the scientific community has noticed that there have been periods of extinction, and so they say that there have been 6 extinctions. So if there have been 6, that means we can have one more, and it also means that even if there's extinction, you come back from it. So extinction is not total extinction. And in the Indian scriptures, they speak about annihilation, and Baba mentions very clearly that it's not total annihilation, it's annihilation of the overwhelming majority. So he gives this knowledge in the context of the period of time that leads up to the end of time and the end of civilization as we know it. And this period is called the confluence age. So we have the beginning of time also. And then if we're looking at these 3 dots, the first and foremost dot is me. I am a dot. And what he tells us about this dot is that everything that you experience in the cycle, everything that happens that you are aware of, including what you read about and what you see on internet and television and film and everything like that, all of that is recorded and experienced in your mind. So normally we think that whatever is happening outside of our bodies. But what he's telling us with the knowledge of drama is don't think about it happening outside your body, but think about the fact that the only way that you can know that it's happening is that you perceive it through your sense organs, and you perceive it in the soul, in the mind. But this is a big shift to really say to yourself that this expression where the people say it's all in the mind, well, that's really true, but It's all in the mind to a very deep extent. Anything that we experience, anything that happens, though it may go on the news, it may be recorded by lots of people at the same time, but your personal angle of perception is the recording that you get in your soul. And in the soul, there is chronological time experience, and there is also what is called kairos time experience. And this is important. It doesn't get spoken of directly in the Murli, but indirectly, definitely. One of the reasons that we accept the knowledge of the drama being an identical repetition is whenever we have an experience of déjà vu. What we also experience is when our yoga is very focused and we are really aligned with soul consciousness and with good consciousness, we experience that we know things in advance more frequently than normal, which means that we are in some way lined up with the drama. When we're really soul conscious and really good conscious and really we have these three dots all lined up, then we experience viscerally, not just only intellectually, but we experience viscerally that there is nothing new and that we are experiencing it once again. So Baba gives us this information, practice, experiencing that whatever is going on, you've had it before, you've done it before, and all of these things that were happening at the beginning of this session with the technology not cooperating, this is all, included in the drama. We've been through it before, so it doesn't bother us. And one of the very important purposes of the drama is that when any event that would be called as a kairos time event, which is a very impactful event that affects you with so much resonance that you still are aware of it long after it has happened. And maybe there are some events that resonate in the soul throughout your entire existence, so that when the time comes for that thing to happen again, you feel it in advance of it coming. So you get a premonition and you get a sense that this is going to happen, and then it does happen, and you say, I knew it was going to happen. But it's like rare, and it doesn't really shift you away from the feeling that everything is basically random. But we have enough of these experiences, at least for us to be able to say, I can relate to the idea that there is identical repetition because I have experienced knowing something before it happens. And it's not possible for it to happen unless it's already happened before, because you wouldn't see a picture of it if it hasn't happened. And this you can understand by deeply churning the knowledge of the Gyan, that it's not that you can see it beforehand if it hasn't happened yet. You can only see it beforehand if it has happened. So sometimes people have this question that, are all periods of time existing simultaneously? And there is a case for that. Going back to the analogy of the record or the analogy of the memory card, your entire script is sitting on that record or in that memory card, and just as in a computer if you have a film on your computer, you can stop it, you can go back, you can go forward. The whole film is there, and you can replay it and watch it as many times as you want, and everything is there. When we see films multiple times, we very often see things that we hadn't seen the first time around, because we become more aware of all the details when we already know the story in advance, and we remember certain phrases which we like very much, we anticipate them. So in the same way, the most potent experience for any soul in the world, according to me, is the experience of the encounter with God. Because Baba has said that sooner or later, by the time there is the end of time, every soul must have an encounter with God. And this is the biggest thing that happens to a person, because when you get an encounter with God, you get reset to your original settings. And so again, technology helps us to understand this. Everybody has a smartphone, more or less, and you know that you can press a button and it goes back to the original factory settings, and then you start off again. And so the soul, when it reaches the end of its script, also has to go back to the beginning, because there is perpetual motion, because there is immortality, because there is eternity. And we have to deal with the idea of 5,000 years being so short. Well, there are indicators of the biggest clock being 5,000 years, as in the Mayan calendar. And there are so many cycles in the world, and people look at vast cycles. For example, the people who speak about the Big Bang theory, they say that there was a Big Bang 14 billion years ago, and there will be another Big Bang after another 14 billion years, and we are somehow in the middle of that. Quite conveniently, there's a way to go before we have another bang. And there is the astrological cycle of 28,000 years, the full rotation of all the stars and planets. And then Baba says 5,000 years. That is the story of humanity and human perception. So sometimes people look at the geology and signs of the earth itself being much older, and of course the earth is eternal. And the knowledge of the cycle tells us that what happens to the earth, what happens to nature, is that there is a major reset every 2,500 years. And so the cycle is divided into half and half. So then when Baba talks to us about the drama, he says it is a drama of happiness and sorrow, victory and defeat, light and dark, and that is the nature of existence. It is like a pendulum swinging between two extremes, and it takes 5,000 years to go all the way from the extreme of heaven to the extreme of hell, and it takes 1 second to go from the extreme of hell to the extreme of heaven. And that 1 second is basically the moment of your final death. And we have taken many rebirths, a maximum of 84. So we have these anywhere between 1 and 84 births in our memory card. And when we get close to this time, when it is the end of one time cycle and the beginning of the next time cycle, that is the time when there is massive change and huge impact on the soul, and so you remember it in advance. And the more you are destined to or the more that it is your destiny that you are an 84 birth soul, the more you are sensitive to this, because you spend a lot of time in the confluence age studying about this, thinking about this, and dealing with it, and handling all the karma that's associated with it. Now, I am just looking at the clock, and I know that we started quite late, but I normally go on for somewhere like 45 minutes or so, which I have just about done. And I tried to just bring up a lot of the elements of the drama which we need to kind of open up, like a kind of dissecting table, because we have the predestination, we have the duration of 5,000 years, we have the 3 dots of I the point, God the point, drama the point. Why are these called points? Why do we need to go to the point, which is a key to disentangling all the entanglements of karma? And we have to look at this in the context of heaven and hell, of the time period of intense human suffering. At the moment there is really very massive human suffering, and people want to know why and what's going on and how do we deal with it, and can we deal with it, and is it possible for it to get much worse, and if it does, what will happen? So people have these questions in their minds, what will happen? And the knowledge of drama tells us very clearly what will happen is all the karmic accounts will get resolved and everything will return back to balance. And all of the complications will finish, and the story will end, and there will be a big bang. Everyone will go back to the soul world, and then we will start again. And all that will take 1 second, because as soon as you leave your body for the last time, there is no more time. And between the end of time and the beginning of the next cycle, that gap cannot be computed in terms of time. And so it's a matter of 1 second. You leave and then you come again. And one time someone asked Daddy Gulzar, how do you do this? How do you go from the end of one cycle to the beginning of the next cycle? And she said it's really very simple. You just close your eyes and open them again. So when you die, your eyes close, you lose your body, everything, and then you open them again, and there you are in a completely rejuvenated world, and that then becomes the beginning of your recording. And whatever happened in between is not recorded in your soul, maybe recorded in someone else's soul, because everything that happens, someone perceives it, and then it is included in the script. So Shiv Baba knows the full script, but he also knows that going through the end of time to the beginning of time, going through this destruction of the world, is unbearable and unacceptable. And so he gives us this knowledge of the drama in order to transform something unbearable and unacceptable and incomprehensible into something manageable. So the importance of the knowledge of the drama is how we can use it so that we can go through this destruction in a manageable way, which is what I say is without getting destroyed. And so we have to reach a point where we give permission for everything visible, tangible, everything we are connected to and attached to. We have to give permission for it to be blown up and for us to return back to the soul world. And in preparation for that, Baba says it's a good idea if you can resolve your karmic accounts, because otherwise you get detained and you will have to resolve them in the Dharmaraj court, because nobody can go back to the soul world unless they're pure. So part of the knowledge of drama is that all the things which happen to us in the confluence age, where we say this is unjust, this is unfair, this is unacceptable, we have to stop this, we have to prevent this, we have to stop climate change, we have to prevent the extinction, all of these things, we know from the knowledge of drama that there's no point in using our energy for that. We need to use our energy to finish all of our outstanding debts with people, places, objects, with history, with our bodies, with God. All these things have to be brought back to balance and paid up. And we also need to accumulate a huge amount of karmic credit, because we need the energy of karmic credit that will last us for the entire next cycle, because we need to have the energy of circumstances being favorable to us. Because if you do pure karma, it causes favorable circumstances. If you do impure karma, it causes unfavorable circumstances. So we need to take that into consideration as well. And we need to have faith that everything, whatever is going on, has its own logic. So there is a logic of drama. And people who look at reality according to a different type of logic, which is the prevalent logic of the Western civilization, which believes in progress, you see. And the development of science has been a validation of this idea of progress. Now, in the ancient culture of India, everybody knows that things are in decline, but they are also very much espoused to the idea of progress, and that you will do good karma and everything will take you to liberation or to heaven. And so there's a contradiction there. But in the Western world, the idea that everything is going to complete decline and everything falls apart, it's really untenable. Nobody can bear that idea until and unless you get the knowledge of drama, which says it's okay, because once it's all fallen apart, it comes back together again, and you will be there and you will also be back together again, and we start the whole game again. And then people say, what's the point? So we have to answer this question, what is the point? And according to the Murlis of the last week or two, there have been many Murlis about the drama, because obviously it was predestined that we would discuss it at this time on this day. And so Baba gives us many, many points in the Murlis that lead up to this. And what he was saying is, the point of all this is you have the opportunity to decide exactly who you are. And you have to define that for yourself, recognize who you are, and then do the karma, do the practice of Raj Yoga, which is going to take you to that point. So for Brahma Baba, the point of all of it for him was, I am going through this whole cycle in such a way, or this whole confluence age in such a way, that I become Krishna, that I become Vishnu. So you have to also understand who you are and really feel that very deeply, because it's preordained. Your highest point in the drama has to be discerned by you and felt, and it's very, very subtle. And sometimes people think they are something higher than they really are. Sometimes people think they are something lower than they really are. But to really recognize exactly who you are, that is not easy. So therefore Baba says, have the aim to reach the top, which is become Lakshmi and Narayan. That is the top. You will not, because that is fixed. Brahma Baba, Saraswati, Jagat Amba, they are fixed for that. But there are 8. And then there are 108. So you do this practice with the aim of getting to the top, and then you will get somewhere near there. If you aim low, you will get lower. So aim as high as possible, because ultimately the ultimate question you have is, who am I? And you know what you have become, but you don't know what you were. And by working with this knowledge of the cycle, you can get a sense of who you are really, and then you can become that again. And that is very much the point and purpose. And for some people that will do it, for other people it won't. But I'm going to stop there, because I've opened up many, many points, and you've probably got a lot of questions. And I think, as I felt initially, that this subject of the drama and all the deep secrets is a huge one, and we might need to spend quite a bit of time on it. But let me stop there for now, and let us just have a few moments of quiet, focused meditation to just think about this a little bit. And then we turn over to Sister Rose to moderate your questions. So thank you very much, and let's have a few moments of quiet. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Om Shanti, Sister Denise.
Om Shanti.
Indeed, the knowledge of drama is one that has always posed a lot of questions, because there are a lot of paradox within this drama. So if every soul has an encounter with God at the end, which this is the experience where the most impactful experience for the soul, why is it that there is a lot of fear about the impending destruction?
It's a very good question. Two things. One is mostly people are afraid of death because they identify with their body. And people can handle, one or two people's death. But when you have like a huge amount of death, people really get upset by it. And the prospect of everyone on earth is like so horrific and so terrible that you just can't manage it, because it's too big. It's outside your range because it's so different from the norm. And then there's a second thing, and that is because of this aspect of Dharma Raj. You see, we who study Raj Yoga are being told all the time, you must do yoga because you have to settle your karmic accounts. Be careful not to get into any new karmas. Recognize when there's a karmic debt going on and go through it, accept it, don't resist it, don't get angry about it, don't take revenge when something bad happens to you, because mostly you're just settling an account, and make yourself full of the powers of tolerance and accommodation and endurance and facing and all of these things, because otherwise you will have to suffer. And of course we know that it's not going to be possible for everyone on earth to get the same opportunity that we have had to study these things and practice this for so many years. And so definitely I think there's this impending settlement of karma in the Dharmaraj court. Of course it's going to be much more detailed courtroom for us because we know better. But nevertheless, for everyone, you cannot go to the soul world until you have paid for your outstanding accounts, and that will be through some or another kind of suffering, some traumatic experience. And all the pictures of hell that we see, is people boiling in oil and horrors like that, So all of this is going to be experienced, and they feel it in advance. Maybe not too directly, but there's a feeling that, oh my God, no.
They feel it in advance is also because they had experienced it last cycle.
Partly they had experienced it individually, but partly because collectively we had to go through this, and it is very traumatic. So that for us, Baba keeps telling us again and again and again, make yourself ready for this, practice for this, and he gives us so many ways to practice it. Now collectively we are dealing with this COVID-19 and the restrictions and the different horrors that are associated with it, because we need to be prepared for much more difficult things to come. And so he's getting us more able to manage the unmanageable than we would otherwise be.
Thank you, Sister Denise. What about the balance of where I am living in the present vis-a-vis planning for my future in a physical way?
Yeah. This is something that we really have to be very stable about, because, you know, anyone could die just like that. Anyone. You get hit by a bus or a bicycle or whatever it is. And it's sudden and it's unexpected. And you could carry on for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depending on how old you are. You know, I mean, we say, okay, let's say maybe I can live to be 95 years old. So that means I have, 25 years to think about. So I have to have enough money, I have to have a place, I have to look after my health, and all of these things. So we have to have both things at the same time. On one side, I must be ready to leave the body today if necessary. And on the other hand, I must have everything in place so that I can manage for the next few decades. And that too in a deteriorating world situation, because we know that there is climate problem, which means agriculture problem, which means food shortage, which means bad weather. We know that the medical health care system is in trouble, and even more so now because of the COVID. And so we need to be able to handle small things and even big things. So we need to empower ourselves. We really cannot rely on there being a lot of money, so we have to be economical, simplifying our lives. All of these various sort of quasi-survivalist approaches are becoming common sense, because we can no longer believe that everything is going to be better and better and better, and we can just have a nice time enjoying a better and better future, because the signs are it's going to be harder.
Okay. Sister Denise, just to time check, how long can we go with the question and answer?
Well, I mean, we started late, so I mean, I don't mind to go on for another half an hour if it's needed.
Okay, thank you. What about, again, the paradox of happiness and sorrow, light and dark, heaven and hell? Is it that this is within the whole cycle, or does it also is it also an experience within the confluence age?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think that there are microcosm and macrocosm and midicosm. And to me, the Brahman family is a middlecosm. Like the whole world is the macrocosm, yourself is the microcosm, and whatever is going on in the Brahman world is a size of a community where everything is there. Whatever there in the whole world, it's all there. And that includes, all levels of good and bad, and just and unjust, and reasonable and unreasonable, and fortune and misfortune, and is it fair, or everything is there. And I think that's a blessing that Baba has given us, because he's given us a context in which to really experience personally all the things that happen to people differently in different parts of the world, So to me that's very important. And our individual Brahman life, I mean, all our karmic accounts will come up for settlement. And if we say I'm an 84 birth soul, you've got 84 sets of parents, who knows what we have done. We have been there for all of history. We have done war, we have done exploitation, we have done business, we have done, I don't know what we haven't done. We must have done everything, and we must have made lots of mistakes. And we must have also been very religious, and we must have done a lot of good things. And so all of it is getting called to account. And so we can expect to see, you know, the full spectrum. And that's it, you know, we have to manage it. And then we become experienced, you see, which is really good. Because we do have a leadership role. We don't necessarily have to become well-known leaders, but a leadership role in the sense that how we handle what we have to handle becomes a sort of template or a track that someone else can say, okay, if this one did it like this, then I can also do it, you know, like that.
Thank you, Sister Denise. In the note that you wrote, which I read a while ago, you said that this must be used in conjunction with the remembrance of God, and you mean the knowledge of drama. And if you do not know it, then you are still in bhakti. But keep going, because you cannot grasp it until you have completed your bhakti. And this is a spiritual law.
Yeah, this is a difficult spiritual law, but it's one we've heard quite often, that you can't come into Gyan until you've finished your bhakti. And lots of people come in Gyan and they're still in bhakti. We see that. And because Gyan is a transitional period, and all of us, I mean, we're not all focused on Indian bhakti. And in Indian bhakti, there's lots and lots of different levels of it. But, for example, the extent to which we are still looking at the world through the lens of Western civilization, through the idea of justice, through the idea of that there's freedom, and there's just so many things that are still part of our moral and ethical response to situations, and they clash with Gyan. And whenever we experience a clash between our way of thinking of things and Gyan, there we have to look at this expression Shrimat, Manmat and Parmat, which I've talked about quite a bit. But, you know, we do, we are under the influence of our culture, and we are under the influence of our personal ethical policy. And so sometimes we will totally forget Gyan and operate according to that for some situation. And then later on, you know, we're very good at Gyan theoretically, very good, you know, and we learn it in a theoretical way. But then we are in context of people and family and our own baggage and our own karmic accounts and all of these things. And to reach a point of responding to all social situations from the angle of a deity soul, you know, that's not so clear. You know, in French they say c'est pas évident, you know. And so so we have to get there. And this is why it's really good that we are in contact with each other, we're living with each other, we're dealing with all these things on a constant basis. And every so often we will bring in different points of knowledge to get us across certain areas where we've obviously lost consciousness of what Baba is telling us. So we remind each other about that. And then gradually it becomes what we are. And by that time, that will probably coincide with the karmatit stage. And then we can go because we're ready. But you see, until you finish your bhakti and let go of it, you can't see this. you see. Because bhakti is like, it makes us blind and deaf, and we don't know that we're blind and deaf. He give us the third eye. When you're seeing everything with the third eye, but sometimes it closes, you know.
Many years ago, I heard you said you cannot go to heaven until you get through hell.
That's right. You can't get to heaven until you've passed through hell. So, yep, that's it. So if you're passing through hell, if you're passing through hell, keep going, because you're on the right track. Yeah.
Okay. Sister Denise, let me read some of the questions from the Zoom. I'm just reading it because there are many questions. So here goes. I'm at point. So what is the interest of knowing who I am as a human? When and where is the concept of Dharamraj if we close our eyes on the old world to open them in the new world?
And that's one question?
Yes.
Okay, well, to know that you're a point is to know that you are not your body. To know who you are is really to identify what is your ultimate motivation, what makes you tick, you know. And I have thought about this for myself and thought, okay, now, you know, Shiv Baba says, okay, you're a deity soul. Okay, so deity soul means you have all the virtues, you don't have any vices, you have all the, you know all the skills of how to function socially, you know how to rule yourself and the hearts of others. You are operating on the basis of love, you know, love for the self, love for God, love for humanity. And so if you are like that, then that's very good to know. I am like this, because people have this deep down doubt, am I okay? You know, people ask, am I okay? Yeah, you're okay. Or if somebody says, no, you're not okay, it's like, oh my God, I'm not okay. Oh my God, you know, should I just die right now? Because people deeply want to be okay, but they don't know how to know whether they are okay or not. So this knowledge helps you to know for yourself, and you're not based on anybody else's judgment or opinion, which could be anything. But you know for yourself, you have the criteria, you know, yeah, I am okay because I am a person who fundamentally has love for God and love for humanity. That's good enough, you know. That makes me an okay person. And then your karma will correspond with that, you see. So even if you made a few mistakes here and there, you don't care, you get through whatever you have to go through, because you know that fundamentally I'm okay and I will always be okay. And the best thing of all is that I am me. And once you can arrive at that conclusion, everything it becomes acceptable. You know? And so closing your eyes and opening them again, that's the last thing you do and the first thing you do. So you don't do it in advance. It's you practice, okay, but a time will come when you will die, and you have to die consciously. So don't die in your sleep, and be present for your death. This is a very good thing. Be present for your death, because that's your last sanskar. And in the Golden Age, we're supposed to leave the body voluntarily. So if you don't have the sanskar of agreeing to leave your body at the time when death comes, you say, yes, okay, let's go, then you're missing that sanskar. So we have to practice that too.
Going with dignity.
going with dignity, accepting. You know, the Murli in which Baba Avyak Bab Dada spoke about how Brahma Baba left the body. He had to deal with the intense pain of the heart attack and the intense pain of leaving all of these people who he loved. And of course he sent most of them away because he knew in advance, you know, attachment and love for the Brahmins that he had. You know, this is his family, he's Prajapita, and he's leaving everyone that he cared for totally. And he was holding the hand of Dadi Prakashmani and passing the power to her and just leaving. So it's a very intense experience that you need to be very stable with, to leave your body, handle pain, leave everything, everyone, and just go to God. And he described it because we will also have to do that.
Thank you, Sister Denise. Next question is, what differentiates us from other bhaktis like Hinduism, Christianity, Muslims, Jehovah's Witness? Because they also believe that the end is close and that the signs of it are here. Knowledge of the cycle is also present in lots of traditions. Like all those bhaktis, our own prophet has come and is long time gone, as well as now the second generation after him. The third generation is far less charismatic, which means that we are also subject to entropy.
You mean third generation of Brahmins or something like that?
Yes. Yes, okay. I think this is referring to third generation of Brahmins.
Okay, well, I don't really think about generations of Brahmins because this is supposed to be like the confluence age is one lifetime, although Baba had said you could have up to about 3 lives as a BK. But it's very, very short period of time. And let me see, it was a complex question. Tell me the beginning of it again.
Like, how are we different from other religions and tradition?
Baba said in the Murli today, I think it was in today, nobody can copy this information. So the different various traditions have something, but they don't have the amount of detail that we have. They don't have this direct access to God that we have. They don't know where he is, what he's doing, what he's talking about. They don't know that he can talk to you personally. They don't know all the details of the destruction, and then after that, then what, and who, and how, and all these details we have. And even then, all of us are number wise. And so I think there is that difference. And you know, sometimes people say, oh, well, you all say that you're the ones. Well, okay, maybe we are the ones, maybe we aren't the ones, but it doesn't matter that much. What matters is, do you understand what he's telling, and do you know how to take full advantage in order to be able to bring yourself to this karmatit stage? Because in the end, you are on your own. And if you position yourself in between God and death, however you conceive of God and however you conceive of death, and if you can hold yourself there steady, that's not bad. And we practice to be like that because, you know, the thing that's difficult for people is to come to terms with the fact that you're on your own. And you come in front of God naked and alone, and you meet death with courage and acceptance, and Yeah, that's it.
Mm. Um, if everything is pure and no one commits sin in the golden age because everyone is viceless, how will it be possible for golden age to get degraded into silver age, to copper age, and
Yeah,
subsequently to iron age?
it's the effect of time. You see, we're talking about perpetual motion here. And anytime energy comes into motion, there is a loss of energy. And the only way there can be actual perpetual motion is because God, who is outside the game, comes and brings back all the energy that was used up in the cycle. And he explains it to us. This is also a part of our topic now, the knowledge of drama. Um, because it is the full explanation of perpetual motion, and we have to be able to understand he must be incorporeal, he cannot have a body of his own, he cannot get into any kind of karmic account. Why he is called the liberator is because he remains perpetually free, and there's only one of him. There's only one soul that's outside the machine. And we are all in the machine, but yet we are immortal, yet we are eternal. The earth is eternal, the drama is eternal. Therefore, he has to come and reboot the big computer by his energy, which never can get depleted because he doesn't come into the game. And this is the phenomenon of God. You know, nobody can understand God. But here he is saying, hey, I'm God, and now you please try and understand me because I'm very interesting.
Sister Denise, there are many questions, so I think maybe tomorrow and we will need to extend this topic even for our next EGY sessions.
I think so, yeah, because it's so vast. It's so vast, you know, and every day I've been seeing in the Murlis more and more and more material coming out that... but anyway, at least we had a nice time together opening up the box of drama. Yeah.
So some of these questions we will open it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But we have time for one last question.
Okay.
What does it mean exactly when Baba speaks of detached observer? How does this again balance with the innate quality of the soul as being compassionate?
Well, this requires a very, very strong heart because, you know, sometimes we can experience that God feels the suffering of humanity, but he can bear it, you see. He has to bear it. Sometimes I think, you know, he gives us these 8 powers, and he has all the 8 powers, and he's called the omnipotent one because he can bear human suffering while also feeling it intensely. And so we have a limit to what we can bear, and he wants to stretch that limit. He sometimes says, you must become like me, become Bab Saman. So we have to be able to bear the unbearable in terms of seeing human suffering. One thing is our own suffering, okay, we can bear that, but then to bear the suffering of other people, that's very difficult because we are love, you know, we are pure, we are very, very sensitive. And so to manage all that, we have to practice to not let it overwhelm us. And so to be detached means we have to understand what is the meaning of attachment. And attachment is really another word for not being able to bear something. And detachment is another word for being able to bear it even though you feel it very intensely. And I think that's a good way to look at it. Because some people, they just become like cold and, oh, you know, it's your karma, you have to suffer. And that's not spiritual, you know. And some people, they just cut off, you know, they can't bear it, so they just freeze over. And so we have many different ways that we say, this is, I'm a detached observer, but in fact, we are not all that clear about what it is. And this is why I feel that a way to look at it is that you can really feel everything in its full intensity, and yet at the same time be able to bear it and hold it in your heart, that it won't destroy you, you know. This is power.
Okay. But from that feeling, what do you then do about it? I mean, is it the reason why I have heard it being said that do not interfere in the karma of others?
Well, you know, in the police, they have a system that they have to use for domestic violence, because what happens in domestic violence is that the couple will be in the process of destroying each other, and if the police goes and protects the one who's getting destroyed, that one has so much attachment with the destroyer that they won't press charges, you know, partly because of attachment, partly because of dependency, and many, many things. But recently I came up with this thought that when you have a relationship with someone that involves a great deal of pain and suffering, that is the amount of attachment you have with that person, because attachment doesn't come from love, it comes from suffering in a relationship of love. So that means then, if you're going to be a detached observer, you have to be able to bear what's happening. And in terms of not interfering in someone's karma, you have to be a very good judge, you know, the power of discernment and the power of judgment at what is right for you to do and what is not right. And I think this comes through a combination of study and experience, and you eventually have to come to terms with the fact that there is nothing you can do. You know, maybe there's somebody who you could help, but they don't want to be helped. And there's nothing you can do. Maybe someone's in a situation that's beyond your capacity. Nothing you can do. You do what you can. But then many people, they feel guilty because they couldn't do what they wanted to do. But you can't do to that point. And sometimes in the question of interfering with someone's karma, you know, someone may be out of money. You give them money and then they get out of money again because they have the sanskara and the karma of being out of money. So, you know, there's really ultimately not that much that you can do. So you do what you can, and then you just put everything in the hands of God, because nothing more you can do.
Okay, thank you so much, Sister Denise.
Thank you.
Our time has come. And again, we will forward to you all these questions for tomorrow.
Okay, great.
And as you have promised, another session of EGY on this topic. as it is really a very powerful tool for shifting the way we are living our life.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Sister Rose, and thank you, Sister Maggie, and the translators, and everyone. Thank you so much for being in the gathering, and we see each other tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central European Summertime, and 4 o'clock Philippine time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Om Shanti. Let's have a moment of silence together.
Thank you.